Right, we're going to look at Chapter 11, Lesson 8, Displaying Data on a Line Plot. And we're going to be answering questions today, like finding the sum of all the data points. We might find the sum of data points like over a certain number, under a certain number, or we could also subtract the largest value minus the smallest value. I've created all the items or all of the classwork here because the materials in my math only include fractions that are less than one whole. And as we've seen from Park and from ANET, we need to include fractions that are mixed numbers as well. There's a couple different ways that we can find the total. One would be, like in this circumstance, that I would multiply 2 times 1.5 and 3 times 2.5, as I'm showing here in this first example. Another way that we could do it is using repeated addition. Both are correct. I think that this first one is a little more efficient and leads to fewer mistakes when we're regrouping, the fractional parts. But either way would be totally fine. After we do this multiplication, we end up with like 3 and 7.5. You may notice that students want to add the whole numbers and then add the fractional parts, which again is a really good strategy. So the first problem looks like this. We're looking for the total distance, and so we want to say, like, well, we have one measuring one, we have two students or two days that she walked 1.5 miles, 3 days where she walked 2.5 miles, and 1 day where she walked 3 miles. So I'm going to add all of those numbers together. And again, I'm showing my multiplication over here on the side and then substituting those values back in so that the work doesn't get like super lengthy over here. So this is showing my scratch work for my multiplication. Here we're asking what is the total height in inches of all the bean plants that are taller than 1 inch. So what I would do is like draw a dotted line down the number line where we say 1 inch. So we're only looking at these 5 values. And then again, I have 2 values that are 1 1/4, 2 values that are 1 1/2, and 1 value that's 2. In this circumstance, I don't have to get common denominators because this turns into a whole number, but sometimes you may have to get a common denominator before you add. And then the last one is asking, well, what is the difference between the longest beetle and the shortest beetle? And we're also asking students to explain how they determine their answer. What we want them to do here is identify like which is the longest, which is the shortest, and then subtract. In this case, again, after we label all the fractions on our number line, we actually don't have to get common denominators because the common denominator is already given, but that's another circumstance too, where in a number line you may have like 3/4 minus 1/8 and you want to get common denominators, and so it might be helpful to review that on the do now.